All right, I'm in South Texas here. I got my friend Diamond Jim with me. There's Jim. We are in a box blind near Frere, Texas, and Jim invited me down here, and I sure like hunting here, especially because it's 80 degrees right now in the middle of January, and they hunt a lot different here in Texas than anything you've seen anywhere else in this brush country, so I'll be talking about that more. But it's about 4:30 right now, and we're going to be sitting here till about 6:30, quarter to 7. And I can shoot bucks and does and javelinas and hogs and bobcats and coyotes. And so I don't know if we brought enough bullets, but we're going to concentrate on the deer to start with. So anyway, it should be fun, and this is going to be an enjoyable hunt. And I really like this country down here, especially coming down here in January. So we'll see what happens as the evening goes on. Let's see, a 10 point or an 8? I think he's 10.
He doesn't have any brow tines.
He's got a saggy belly, like an older deer.
He does. He looks older now than he did a minute ago.
Yeah, when you get him broadside, he looks like a mature buck.
See, he's a little heavy in the front end.
Alright, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm back in the blind again, and Jim is just spreading corn on the senderos, and then he's going to go sit in a different blind to scout out another area. And I have instructions to shoot any mature deer this morning. He checked the tags, and for this pasture, which is about 6,000 acres, they have 7 buck tags left they're supposed to fill out of 14, and this is Friday. The season ends Sunday, so we got 3 days to fill 7 buck tags with the handful of people that are in camp here. So he said shoot any mature deer, and also I could shoot a hog or coyote, and they're close. I can shoot coyotes, hogs, bobcat. If I see about a 30, 40 pound hog, it'd be perfect for butchering and putting on the grill, which would be fun. And there's javelinas too, so there's lots of stuff to shoot, a lot of fun, but I'm concentrating on trying to kill a buck today, so it should be fun. This is not an arrow. Very different for me to be shooting at deer with something like this, 7mm, 7mm. Every successful hunting technique and strategy is an adaptation to the environment. And here in South Texas is a really harsh environment where it's extremely difficult to move around in this country. I mean, literally, if I tried to walk 100 yards through the brush, that way my clothes would be in tatters, probably my skin would too. It just seems like everything's trying to kill you here, and everything has thorns, and you can't just take a rifle or a bow and just go hunting and try to expect to track down a deer, or even sit in a tree stand and expect to shoot a deer. So the adaptation that they use here, this is a country where it's really, really hard to make a living for deer, and so they feed the deer and they shoot them over the feeders. And it's really highly regulated through the Texas Game and Parks Department. They manage very closely how many deer are shot, and on this particular pasture, it's about 6,000 acres, and they are given tags to shoot 14 does and 14 mature bucks off this particular pasture, and that's what they're encouraged to shoot. They want to keep the buck-doe balance in a good ratio, about 1 to 1, and we actually see just as many bucks as you do does. Areas where they feed them, this feeder here goes off twice a day, and then they cut these senderos through the brush where they put up these box blinds, and then they also spread corn on the sendero. So this is a year-round process where they keep these deer in nutrition. This is actually not just corn, but it's also got some pellets and soybeans, I think, or milo, I guess, is what Jim told me, some different things in it. They also feed cottonseed because it's 28% protein, so they're getting the carbohydrates and the protein. This is also an active cattle ranch. It's a 138,000 acre ranch, and this 6,000 acre pasture is leased by hunters and controlled of what they can do. The ranches work really closely with the game department, and all of the bucks, when they're shot, they're weighed, they're aged, they're measured, and these records go into a big database so they can track how they're doing as far as managing these deer. They're very much into managing these deer for quality, and a lot of people think that you can't influence the quality of antlers by harvesting certain classes of bucks, and that there's a whole other argument about whether or not to shoot spikes, but they found that they can definitely improve the quality of the deer herd by shooting older deer with poor antler genetics. A management deer is a deer that's at least 5 years old and has 8 points or less, and they try to take those as many as they can out of the herd, so the genes are spread by the bigger bucks. You know, I'm hunting here looking at deer that I would shoot pretty much anywhere else, but I can't shoot them because they're only 4 or 5 years old, and so pretty much 6 years old is the minimum of what they'll shoot. And you know, where I live in Minnesota, 6-year-old deer, I mean, they're unheard of basically, and part of the reason is because we've got 30 below winters and wolves and a lot of people that shoot yearling deer. So it's just really fun. It's very different, and like I said, it's an adaptation to this environment. Well, it's only 1:30 and I'm already in the blind, and I was sitting around camp thinking, if I'm just going to be sitting around, I might as well be sitting around in the blind, because these deer are pretty active all day, especially when it's cool like this. A high of 63 today, and I've already got a young buck out here. I've only been here 5 minutes, maybe not even that, and I already got a young buck that's out here. I'm in blind number 10. Yeah, there's 16 of them altogether, and number 16 is the one I hunted last night and this morning. Saw two really, really nice bucks. It's kind of amazing that I'm passing deer like that, but that's the way it works here. So this blind, Jim's telling me that there's two older 8-point bucks that they'd like to have shot. So if either one of those comes in or both of them comes in, I can shoot them both. So we'll see what happens here. But this one, he says, also has quite a few javelina and hogs on it, so you just never know. We'll give it a whirl here. Jim ran the corn up and down these senderos quite a bit, so there's lots of good food on the ground for them, and we'll see what happens as the afternoon develops. Another nice buck that's off limits because he's too young.
got a real mature deer. This is always all brustled up and real dark on a real mature deer.
Yeah.
And his knees, he's got the hair wore off of his knees. Was a real warrior. He's been in many, many fights.
Yeah, he's scarred up. Got that old bump on his nose, Roman nose.
Yeah.